me, as I look at this, ensure that there is. So this audit is meant to ensure that there is, actually what this audit is going to do is assess our communications. We know that it's important to have communications for success throughout an organization. But the audit is going to give us a picture of what our communications are and recommendations as to what they could be or should be.
If there are deficiencies, how to improve.
It's what I'm looking for. Deficiencies and how to improve them.
No, I'm not, I don't know, I eat my own cooking.
All right.
So, under communication, Louis, will you put Gary's comment, deficiencies and how to improve them?
Identify deficiencies and how to
I think I kind of said that, but
I think you did too, but I want Gary to feel good.
You don't feel good, Gary? He really wants to say something, but
I know he does. I can
but
see
he's
it.
being
It's
nice.
coming out his ears. Did you take my pen? Oh, I was looking for it.
James, you want to
I had a senior moment and left mine in the car.
It's absolutely fine. There we go. I just thought I had a senior moment. I lost my pen.
Better than losing your mind.
I'm not sure about the next paragraph, I'm not sure what to do with that.
which one is that?
Ensure that council staff goals and objectives align with current council goals and the city of Oakridge strategic plan.
So isn't the strategic plan due for update?
Yes, this is due. So when I stuck that in, or the reason I stuck that in there is because back at the April 6th work session is where the council stated that the current goals was going to be community event center, transportation, and housing. And those are the three areas that we've been working on pretty hard. Also, we included some items from the strategic plan, which is family wage jobs and cleanup of Highway 58. And so we took those tasks from the strategic plan, and actually those even came up as part of the community survey. So they aligned with what was on the strategic plan. So those are the 5 primary areas that we're really working on at this time. Is those right there. And so.
You did, remember the work session you had?
What, did we then go to council and adopt this?
That's what, yes.
That's it. Okay,
Yes.
good. I'm glad.
No,
So-
that was kind of back.
Well, I have some issues with that. That's
That's my really close.
That's for
There you go.
Thank you.
All right. So, I mean, we can streamline that again. These are just, as I was reviewing the different pamphlets and information and stuff that I read on the internet, and what I got from the consultants when I spoke with them was I was just trying to piece together some different things from what they gave me as information. So we can minimize that, make it larger, less, whatever y'all think.
I do think though that Gary's question about what this means actually is true, because it's ensure that the goals and objectives and policies align with the goals and strategic plan.
Yeah, it's not worded right. I mean, I don't I don't know.
No, again, we can play with it.
Okay, so ensure that staff goals and objectives align with the current council goals and the city of Oakridge strategic plan. Isn't that a better way of saying what you really mean?
Yep.
Say that, read,
Okay, just
council
take,
out.
take council out. Doesn't need to be mentioned twice.
So one more time.
So just take
Just
out
take
council.
council, the first council.
Okay. So ensure that staff goals and objectives align with current council goals.
Yeah.
And leave the strategic plan piece there out.
Absolutely. Strategic plan is the performance
Current
measure.
council. Okay. Got it.
How is the next one, complete a citywide staffing analysis? How is that different from the first paragraph?
Not really different.
It is, I don't think we need it. That's just me.
Oh, you mean on the,
Aren't 1 and 5 really saying the same thing?
I think it's, you're gonna take a little bit of both. Now, I don't believe that it's saying the same thing, but, you will need pieces of both.
So I think 5 maybe goes back to what we defined in our objective statement there, what Councilor Catholic mentioned about how many hands do we need on the shovel?
Basically, that's what your staffing analysis is gonna tell you. They're gonna interview the person, they're going to review the, job
Well,
description.
no, actually, they're going to review the workload that we have and say, we need X people.
Yeah,
Is
I
that what you
disagree.
need then?
I disagree, because when I read it, what I see is, what it's saying is, as this job is defined, is it at the correct classification and level of responsibility? Not, is it a job, so given this is a job we need,
Okay, not whether it's relevant or not.
not whether it's relevant,
But whether or not the level of responsibility
is it at the right level?
is appropriate for what the
Right.
job is.
And in the end, what that helps us see is, do we have too many ponds? Do we have too many I hate using those terms, but do we have too many ponds and too many generals and not enough
Right.
knights or whatever?
Exactly, and that will be part of it. That would flesh that out.
Are we at the right level?
How is that different from what we said, number 1 was complete a citywide analysis by staff and position?
Because number 1, you're going to define the role and you're going to define the responsibility with that role, right? Now, do you have the appropriate number of staff in that role?
Well, we said, is the position relevant? That's what we said,
So if
number 1.
the position's relevant, do we define how many people we need to perform?
To me, it speaks.
So we can't say that one position equals one person.
But we're also talking about, are the positions that we have at the right level that they should be at?
Correct. That's part of this, that's
Or
part of the
are the people
analysis.
in those positions have the right level of responsibility?
Well, okay, it's the people in them, but, it's like, well, you've got front staff who, this is their responsibility, this is their level of classification. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, it should be reduced, or should be expanded, or,
Are they working above a classification level, and so are we kidding ourselves and saying we're really good when actually we're not paying our people appropriately? Or are we paying them too much for their classification, for what they're doing?
So a way to look at this is that within any given classification, the person in that classification is expected to work above or below that line.
They're supposed to work at that classification, and if
They're
you work
supposed
above it,
to, they can work above it sometimes and they can work
yeah,
below it.
but consistently,
But
then
we're
you
not gonna
move the
raise their pay
classification.
or cut their pay, depending on what we're gonna pay the classification.
No, you're confusing what I said.
Oh,
I think so.
I don't know.
Okay. So if you are,
excuse me a second. If you guys want to talk, you guys could go out in the hallway and talk.
No, we're good, thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
sorry, Caitlin. So classifications, so it's not a matter of looking at, I mean, we're not talking about employee responsibility to their job. Because yes, you're always gonna work at above your level or below your level, or whatever, I mean, there's a fluctuation there. But what I'm talking about is, if I know that I have classifications 5, and I'm just gonna use this as an example, 5 at the front, all out of the front desk. And yet the classification level that I'm paying them at, it isn't reflective of the job that they're doing. So how that doesn't mean that I want to go back and look at them and say, oh, you're getting the wrong amount of money. I want to look at how is that reflective of our budget? Because that will impact our budget in the future. You can't continue to pay people at either a higher or a lower salary and say that you're going to come out in the black in the end. You have to know whether classifications are appropriate for what they're doing. So it's not a matter of whether you're working higher or lower. It's a matter of, is our budget structured appropriately, and are the compensations that we're giving to the people, not individuals, but to the levels of work that is needed to be done, correct too?
So did you also want to look at how one progresses from one classification to the other?
No, I think that's a personnel policy manual, how we move people in our
Right,
classifications. That's union dictated as well as, I'm assuming, policy dictated here. Right.
So do you want to also say that, as a person works in that classification over time, they get a seniority, and,
Exactly.
right? And their amount of pay naturally progresses upward.
That's right.
Now, when we define the classification, we're also defining a salary range.
You're defining a step value.
Well,
So there are
step
several
value,
steps
and we
in
want to try and
classification.
maintain a median point in step value
Yeah.
to the classification.
Yeah, and you know that at some point, if you have a classification of 17, you're gonna be paying some at step 1 and some at step 12, which is the top that you can go. But this is the general line item that you're gonna need to be prepared to pay. That's all.
And so can you go somewhere and find the answer to that? If they're doing this, this, and this, should they be paid that amount?
Well, yes.
Yes, and that's where
That's why.
part of the staffing analysis comes into play,
Right.
and we'll pick up a lot of this right there. And part of that, again, is part of the interview process,
Right.
so that they have an idea on what is that particular position doing daily, weekly, and so forth.
Yeah,
So
whatever
when-
position.
So when we get all done with this, and the people bring us back the answers, what are we gonna do with those answers if they're saying, this person has too many jobs, this person has too many jobs, this person has too many jobs, you need to hire 3 people here, 3 people here, and 3 people in this department, how are we
Judy,
going to do that?
The last part of what you said
What?
is what was the answer that we want.
Yeah.
That last
Whether we
part.
can do it or not.
Well, that's another question. But the answer that we want for that is to say that, is to tell us whether or not our staff is balanced, whether we need more there, or we need more over here. What you said, whether we need 2, 3, 4, or 5 in a various classification. We need to know whether or not we have lead over, let's call it lead over from one classification to the other, right? Not that that's a bad thing, right? Because really, in a functional team, everybody needs to know everybody else's job and be able to perform it to some level of competence, right? But not that they're going to always be required to do that.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the goals with that are we adequate staff at the proper level of classification? I think, maybe the wording here, maybe that needs to change, but I think that as they go through an analysis in the broad stroke, this is naturally gonna fall out.
Correct.
Everything else, as the dominoes stack up, you're gonna see where what it'll do is start teasing out the gaps, right? And hopefully, this is where we'll pick up number 5.
They use a dictionary. You ever been to the unemployment office and they ask you what your job is if you've been laid off, and they write a number down? That comes out of the Dictionary of Occupational Titles produced by the federal government. And it's a number, and it defines what you do if you're the dog catcher, what you do if you're a secretary, what you do if you're a secretary 3. and they equate dollars to those things with that. And you can pick that up online and see, and you'll create a position that's a cross between two of those, and then you go a little bit nuts. But that's what eventually they'll come back with. He'll dig this out later against the dictionary of occupational titles.
And that's correct. That's one of the pieces that they'll do. They'll also use comparables of like-sized cities, which is, anyone who's worked in the public realm, that always happens. They always come back with like-sized cities, okay, and so forth, to get to those numbers. So, but, okay, so, we okay with leaving 5 the way it is?
Well, no, I think that Mr. Apple hit it right on the nose. I mean, do our classifications fall within the line, you know, because here you go, right? But, you know, understanding that when you have a small municipality, you're not going to have a high level of granularity, right? You're going to be going, okay, well, you know,
A little
let's just say
A lot of cross-
5, 6, 7, and 8. That's your job. 5, 6, 7, 8. That's your
That's
job.
Yeah.
Do all that.
Plus the bottom line of number 12
Well,
is.
the bottom line
anything else
is
you
that
need
we
to
want,
do.
you know what? You know, we're both new. We're all new here, right? We haven't been, a lot of us haven't been in this town a long time. We don't know where the city government's been, where it's going, or we just know where we are today. So, you know, I'm happy if we can just define where we are today. And then, you know, make that a stepping stone to where we're gonna go, right? I don't wanna really go backwards and say that's where we were. We already know, we just know where we are. So let's find out where we are, and then we'll move forward. And
Can we
take
do that?
corrective action.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, we do, we move forward. Because then when we discover that, you know, wow, you know, there is a discrepancy here, you know, because then that helps us define how do we move forward? You know, will we move forward with any ability to be sustainable? Perhaps we won't.
Well, I mean,
Perhaps we will.
sustainability
We
is
will,
a
I'm
big
sure.
part, but, you know, we need to move forward and keep it clean,
Yes.
right? We don't need it tangled up, I mean, so it doesn't look like a
I was talking about moving forward to number 6.
Darn!
okay, well, let's head there then.
Yeah, that's
Number 6.
So, number 6, where I'm headed with that is for example, just about every department has some type of process or internal controls. So, for example, let's say down in the PD, there's internal controls for evidence, okay? And how it'll be labeled, how it'll be put away, these kind of things, okay? Good example, EMS. They have their protocols and all these kind of things. Okay, those are the internal controls to ensure that those people are following their protocols of taking care of a patient. Finance, the internal controls. For example, we have an outside CPA that comes in and reviews the finance director stuff. And when she's looking at that, what she's looking for is making sure everything is flowing well, but if she sees any red flags, that's what she's looking for. If she sees any red flags, she's coming to us. If we don't fix a red flag, then she's coming to you. Okay, so what I'm saying is that's your oversight, okay? Because she's not going to give up her license, okay, for us, all right? So, again, that's where the internal controls come into play.
So.
And they would go through those.
Do we have those processes diagrammed out in linear flow chart?
No, but we have them in there. We have them in narrative. Most of those we have in narrative, and there's probably a good chance that the PD and EMS may have some type of a checklist type.
And I bet there's a
Process.
flow chart in sanitation.
So, yeah, so there. Most of it is narrative form, but it'd be safe to say that there are some parts of it that we go either checklist style or flow chart.